Alright, well, seeing as there's no seeds to be played, I think we're just gonna go back to some random here. You know what I could do? Maybe, is just do like an over-explain run. I mean, I usually try to explain things, but maybe we could go the extra mile every now and then, eh? So let's do that. We'll assume that the viewer might just know absolutely almost nothing about Monster Train, other than they've played a few games, but maybe they're stuck on a lower covenant. So, what are we looking at here? We're looking at 3 major bosses. Going to be on Ring 3, Ring 6, and Ring 7. Then, of course, after Ring 7, you'll have Ring 8, sorry. Final boss is on Ring 8, and then after that you got Ring 9, which is Divinity, if you take 100 shards, which we will do. You should have some information about these. I do have a guide somewhere in the depths of my channel that outlines what waves are going to correspond to each different boss here. So Talos the Soul Sucker, for example. I don't know the exact composition, but I have a few heuristics that I know. And something that I know about Talos the Soul Sucker is that a few of the enemy waves have a haste enchanter, so that's one thing you can keep in mind when you see something like that. Scourge Fell, which is typically going to be a very annoying and hard boss. You know, you can start to maybe plan around having to deal with 2 Ember Scourges and also dealing with the bottom floor, if you can at all, some way to deal with the bottom floor Scourge Shufflers. Those are going to be the enemies that at the end of every round will shuffle a Scourge into the top of your deck, which means, you know, I would say, yeah, it sucks that you have the Scourge, but really the main drawback there is it's killing your draw, right? Instead of drawing an actual card, you're drawing a Scourge. That's the main downside of these Scourge units, is that it kills your ability to draw through your deck. And then you have Seraph the Chaste, which is going to remove buffs and also will have some lifesteal for what that's worth. But also the waves will include a Pyre Wings. A Pyre Wings is a unit that has a sweep attack and Ember drains all of your units. That means that every unit you have on your floor that gets hit by it and survives is going to lose you 1 Ember for the following turn. So some things you can think, you know, we're not Stygian, so we don't have any access to silence other than caverns, but if we do see the Silence Tome in a cavern event, it would be high priority because it's going to be very good into both of these fights, and it's just good in general. So that's the kind of information you're looking for when you look at the bosses. And then you got your starting cards, Wall Encasement. You can start to think, what's it going to do for me? Like, the things you can think of are, is it good for me Ring 1? If it is, then maybe taking some shards or some trials is realistic. Generally, Divine Boons you can always take, and I'll get into that in a bit here, but if it's a Divine Horde, which is, instead of the gold, you would be getting 3 choices at an artifact, that's going to cost you 15 pack shards instead of 10, like the Divine Boons does here. And the difference on that is really that, you know, the Divine Boons, it's only going to power up, the 10 shards in this fight is only really going to power up the boss, and only one of the 4 possible encounters will actually have an enemy powered up, which would be the Clergyman. And they'll just have one of them get powered up into a multi-striking unit that has 5 health. Now, the Divine Horde, on the other hand, is going to make the bosses even more powerful at 15 shards, but more importantly, it guarantees that no matter what encounter you fight, one of the enemies is going to be shard enhanced. And that can be very rough if it's a crossbow enemy that gets shard and hacks, because they're going to be a 5 health unit that has 9 attack by 2, so 18 attack, even more if there's a unit trial, or a damage trial, I mean. And so those are the things you can kind of think about when taking those pack shards at the start. But Mull Encasement, I would say, generally as good of a card as this is, it's not a good card for Ring 1. You're really looking for cards that can deal with these waves. Now, on the other hand, Sting is a pretty good Ring 1 card. Pretty middling card otherwise for the rest of the run, but 10 damage for free that gets you an extra draw early, that's a pretty good card. And I would say Subsuming Blade is decent at the start too. You know, you have the whole run to power this card up. It's one of those cards that has a meta scaling aspect to it, so I'm permanently gaining damage every time I get a slay. And it's piercing, which is pretty useful considering we are playing with the DLC, which means there's a lot of enemies when they get shard enhanced are going to have spell shield. So that is what we're looking at there. Now you can do either here, choosing an artifact or a champion first. I generally, personally, take a champion first, but I know it's not common to do that, and most people take artifact first. In my experience, I get more information from the champ path about where my run's going to go, especially with a champ like Rector, right? You got to be always thinking what your combo is here. Another thing to think about, you know, is the starting cards they're not all created equal. Like dregs are typically not that good unless you're getting Dark Calling with Rector. And restores are typically just not good at all in Ring 1. They're probably the weakest Ring 1 card there is. So our starting cards won't necessarily give us much here unless we get Dark Calling, so we'll see. And we do get Dark Calling. Now, I generally would say Dark Calling is absolutely the best Rector path to start with. I'm not a huge fan of going all the way into it. Like, you know, once I beat Ring 3, we get to upgrade the champ. And then once we beat Ring 6, we get to upgrade the champ. If at all I can flex in Accumulator later, I will, because I don't care too much about just getting 5 additional attack on each upgrade with some minor stats to the actual champ. I'd much rather get some really good scaling on the champ. So that's the plan though. Dark Calling at the start means we will absolutely have no problem in Ring 1. It's so powerful. You can, if you have Dark Calling, you don't need anything other than the dregs to win in the early game. Okay, an Exploding Candle is another card that definitely gives you a lot of early game advantage. I think we would just take that. As we've noted, 5 health is a important threshold. Now I will say there is a little bit of anti-synergy on this Exploding Candle with our Subsuming Blade, but another thing you can think about is Subsuming Blade can be played on your own units, so it's not a gigantic amount of anti-synergy. I can just kill my own unit with it if I need to. You know, if what's happened is I accidentally cleared out all the enemies with a dreg dying, right? Now Exploding Candle is good because, you know, all of your dregs start with burnout, so all of these units just became 5 damage AoE, and I'm reforming them so it's persistent 5 damage AoE. That's a lot better than a measly -1 to attack. And we'll absolutely take the gold here. I'll almost always take the gold regardless of the situation. The only time I might not is if I have a horrible starting deck with a horrible champ, something like Tethys, and I see maybe a Divine Horde here that I really want to probably take, then I might consider skipping their Divine Boons. But really the only thing in the first ring that I would ever consider skipping is typically going to be the Divine Horde, because as we've noted, there are some starting deck situations where at 15 pack shards, a 9x2 or 9x2 attacker with 5 health just can't be dealt with. Now this, for example, would be a troop. The first defense, if you were on 15 pack shards instead of 10, the first defense is absolutely the worst enemy troop you can run into, because you're guaranteed that these crossbowmen are sharded up. The way that shards enhance is that every unit basically has a cost associated with it in terms of pack shards. So, as I noted, on 10 pack shards, you only have to worry about clergymen. Clergymen are the 1 health unit that starts with 2 rage. And those cost 10 pack shards. So basically what happens is it will randomly select a unit in any of the waves, and it will apply the pack shard. It'll try to apply the pack shards to it until there's no pack shards left. So in the case of clergymen, you're going to get 1 random clergyman that gets that 10 pack shards applied, and then it'll be enhanced. Now with these units, none of the units in this group cost 10 or less, so actually the 10 pack shards does not enhance any of these units. The only thing it does is enhance this boss. At 15 shards, however, the crossbowmen cost 15 shards to enhance, so, and considering they're the only unit that can be enhanced in this group, you're guaranteed to have to deal with one of those crossbowmen. Now spikes can be a little bit tricky, but I'm not too worried about it here. These guys, they don't attack. They do have 25 armor plus 5 health, so 30 health. We could probably be looking at potentially some pyro damage just because we may not be able to kill these tanks, considering what the draw order might be. But between the stings and the subsuming blade, I know I should generally be able to kill at least one, and realistically, I probably can kill both before they get to the pyre. And we're not worried at all about the 1 health backliners because of Exploding Candle. So for 75 gold, I think these 3 spikes is pretty easy to take. But spikes can be one that you often have to skip with dregs, especially if this was the troop, where it's the guys that gain damage shield on kill, on slay. Because Thorn, when something dies to spikes, it does count as a slay. So Dark Calling, ring 1, you're typically always going to want to go in on the middle or bottom floor ideally, because if you go in top, you're just not getting nearly as many reforms. So right here, I can just put this down. This thing will hit it, it will then explode, killing that and doing 5 damage here. But the problem is, Rector Flicker, Dark Calling, this trigger of reforming units happens on resolve. That happens after combat. Now remember, combat resolves bottom to top as far as floors go. It resolves top to bottom as far as floors go. So if I put Rector up here, he'll resolve, but the unit will not have died yet. So thus it's a wasted turn for Rector. However, if I put him down here, this thing dying will now allow him to reform that unit. Now it's going to come back with the default 5 health and 5 attack enhancement, but then since I'm Dark Calling, I get an additional 5 attack. So that thing is going to come back with 19 damage and 8 health for free. That's a pretty good deal. We're also going to put the Steward here to get some extra damage, and we'll put a Steward here just in case. Now the Collector is that unit that spawns in on the 2nd wave of every non-major boss fight. It'll always go either at the top, either at the middle, 50-50 chance. We want this guy here because we know that our enhanced drag can take care of this. Well, actually, even the Steward can take care of it at 5. This thing's going to lose all of its armor, just be left with 5 health. But if there's a Collector here, we want to be able to put another unit down and follow up with that. So it spawned in the top. We can look through our hand and see what we want here. So one thing we definitely don't want to do is we definitely don't want to take 8 damage here, because this guy, he does 15 damage. We want to get maybe 1 or 2 attacks out of him on the boss. So the easiest way to do that is I only have 1 burnout unit, so it's pretty obvious I should put this here, right? That thing will die, killing all of them. Then I can preserve 5 extra health here. Now the only other question is what else to do, because this is already killing this. There is a concept with Rector Flicker of a reform pool, and you generally want to keep your reform. You're getting 2 units max each turn. I don't want to necessarily get too many units into the reform pool, but with only 2 waves remaining. Keep in mind the second to last wave of every non-match, or the last wave of every non-major boss fight is always an empty wave. We're not actually going to have many units die here, so what we should do is use Subsuming Blade to kill one of our units. We could also kill one of the enemies. That makes sense too, but since we only have the drag dying, we do want to get a second unit into this pool. What I think I will do here is I think we're going to kill this Train Steward, and then I can power up the blade as well. The reason is it's taking up 2 space, and I can just bring the drag back and put the Train Steward down next turn. It'll have 1 burnout, and then it'll reform again, and then I can bring it back at 2 burnout for the following fight. So I think that's what we'll do. We'll kill that with that. Can kill that with this. And probably, since everything else is more or less being dealt with, we can just heal here. I think it's likely we can kill the boss on the bottom floor, so I don't necessarily have to deal with this Forged Disciple, but we can if we want to. And it looks like we pretty much can. So I don't really want this steward to die. Unfortunately, I could have thought that one out a bit better. Problem is, if this steward goes into the reform pool, it's a bit worse since we did want this steward to come back. I am going to put this guy down back here since he has 29 damage. We want, even though he has the 4 burnout, we want him to get the most hits in on the boss. I think if I had to choose between this steward and a drag, I'd rather have a drag reformed. Oh, you know what we could do? We could just do this. Duh. There. Perfect. And we'll heal you. Now we're guaranteed to get that steward back. As such, I don't think we'll put these drags down here. We're just going to put them up here. I do get Ember Drain 1 for putting them on the top floor, but that's no biggie. As we can see, we really don't most likely need 3 Ember next turn. And these guys will be here to kill this in case we don't kill the boss, but I'm pretty sure we're just going to kill the boss without needing to worry about much else here. So we're doing 78 damage right now. We'll put this guy in front. We have a few options here. We could put this there and then put a drag in. That would make this unit die from the AoE hit, just the same as this does. But I think we just want to put this in. I'm getting 25 damage out of this thing, and I get both hits in, so that should be enough to kill. Yep, and of course it is. That's what you expect from Dark Calling. It puts in some serious work. If we had gone the Harvest route, I highly doubt we get through that fight without leaking. Maybe we do, maybe we do. Certainly with the Exploding Candle, maybe. Now, but here's a gigantic reason why I think Dark Calling is so good to start with. See, now I can take this draft with no worries. With this starting deck, if I had not taken Dark Calling, we have no reform, we have no burnout extension, we're offered none here. You know, we're not even offered burnout extension or reform, yet we have it with Dark Calling. So I can take this incredibly powerful unit draft with an incredibly powerful essence with really no worry, right? And that's absolutely what we'll take here. It's way too powerful to not take. But it's like really hard to take if you don't have reform or burnout extension already as part of your game plan. Now here, there's a bit of just heuristics that can go in here. You got generally the best Awoken common card. Keep in mind there is card rarity. This white dot here signifies it as a common rarity. And a little known fact is that common rarity cards only appear in either the starting deck, the rewards at the first ring fight, or the rewards at the second ring fight. They never appear past that. So there's things to keep in mind there. You can always open up the logbook at any time without exiting your run, and you can check, you know, the rarities are listed here. I can go to Awoken, I can go to Common, and I can see all of the possible options here. And you can ignore Restore and ignore Root Seeds because those are starter cards and you won't be offered them. But there's always going to be 8 commons for any clan. And the thing about Razor Sharp Edge you'll notice here is that it has by far the best offensive scaling out of any of these. And it isn't even close. We're talking 10 attack. The -2 health is usually irrelevant. But the 10 attack is the big thing for only 1 Ember. Whereas I get only 4 attack and 4 spikes for 2. Sharpen is so much worse than Razor Sharp Edge. And even the Steel Enhancer, yeah, it's 0 Ember, but 3 attack and 3 health just do not compare to the 10 attack and the 2 health. The thing you'll notice about Monster Train is that offense is infinitely more important than defense. Because you need to clear waves, and the offensive stat lines, as long as you have some... You know, there are ways to get around having not much health. Granted, you know, if you can increase health, sure, that's fine. That's why we do want to flex Harvest if we can on the Rector Flicker, our champion. But in general, I can stealth my units, I can heal them, I can put regen on them. There are a lot of ways to get around having low health, but there's not many ways to get around not having much damage. If you don't have much damage, you basically are never going to get by the final fight Divinity. When you have several waves of having 3 to 4 200 health, 200 plus health units. So, heuristically, Razor Sharp Edge is almost always the card you pick, regardless of the situation. There are some situations where that can change. You'll pretty much never take a Sharpen over it. But there are some situations where I could argue a Wildwood Sap over Razor Sharp Edge. Wildwood Sap is a decent card for what it is, but especially considering Chased, we don't want to really rely on regen. We want flat stats, absolutely. So we'll take the Razor Sharp Edge here. For what it's worth, you can use it offensively, but I highly doubt we need to do that when we have the Exploding Candle. Now, we could really go either way here. Generally, I would say the Awoken units, you know, these banner units. Keep in mind, a banner unit is also known as a priority draw unit. They're going to be a lot different than the units you get from your card drafts. We can refer to card drafts as starting cards or cards that you get as a reward right after a battle. So a draft is a card draft. It's not a priority draw unit. Drag is a starter card. It's not a priority draw unit. What I mean by that is you're not guaranteed to get them at your start. The thing with these units, though, the ones you see at the banners, or if you take a unit draft trial, those ones will always start. You're always guaranteed to get at least one of those in your opening hand. And also, each subsequent hand, you're always guaranteed to have at least one in them. So they're very powerful in that regard. And it's also why you don't want to overtake too many. Because if you have a few good ones, that's going to be much more powerful than like a few good ones plus a bunch of mediocre ones. You don't really want to draw the mediocre ones. You just want to draw the good ones. So I consider most Remnant banners to be pretty mediocre. You know, if I go here, unfortunately there's no good way to filter on what the priority draw units are. You're just going to have to know. But generally, they're always going to be uncommon or rare. I can at least filter to a unit. And so for Awoken, we can ignore Edge Prior and Wildwood Custodian because those are not banner units. And the only way you can know that is just, you probably have to look up the wiki, right? Or just know from experience. But so the banner unit choices here are Animus of Speed, Animus of Will, Awoken Hollow, Husk Hermit, Shattered Shell, and Thorn Hollow at the uncommon rarity. There's also the rare tier. Shard Channeler ignored, but there's going to be 3 rare banner units for each clan. So we have Vine Mother, Wilting Sapwood, and Steel Singer. Unfortunately, Awoken doesn't have many good rares, but rare banners don't come around that often. The chances are pretty low. It's only about 20% to see a rare banner unit. So I don't really put too much stock into that. I'm mainly worried about the uncommons. So what I see when I look at this is that almost all of these units are good. Probably going into Chased, I wouldn't really want a Thorned Hollow because those spikes can get removed. But every other unit here looks good to me. And also their essences are generally pretty good. Whereas if I go to the Melting Remnant, so ignore Remnant Host, ignore Votivary. All these other ones are the banners. Paraffin Enforcer is very good. That is by far the best unit we could have for melting, but the rest I find pretty mediocre. Lady of the House has good starting stats, but it doesn't really do much beyond that. Lady of the Reformed can give you burnout extension, and it has okay tank stats, but it's kind of a chicken egg. Like, I really don't care about burnout extension outside of Paraffin Enforcer, right? So I kind of have to hit the best unit for that to even be decent. Paraffin Thug is just bad. The stats are really bad. The Slay is very hard to hit at 20 attack. And even then, I'd rather just have a Wickless Tycoon if I want a money-generating machine. But I don't even like Wickless Tycoon that much. I know a lot of people like this card. I just don't think gold is actually that important in this game. I'd much rather have a unit that can do something for me in a fight, and this unit at 10-25 just isn't that good. And the Baron is probably the only other desirable unit other than the Paraffin Enforcer, I would say. But I do think the Baron is very underwhelming at times. It's probably going to be fine, though, if I put the Draft Infusion into it. So I could go either route here. I will say one thing we could determine is we probably prefer the Awoken Banner to the Remnant Banner, but with the Draft in hand, it makes most of these middling remnants okay. The problem with a lot of the problem that the Remnant Banners run into that you don't really run into with Awoken units is that they're very multi-strike dependent. You know, almost all of them are just single striking, non-sweeping, non-trampling units. So they really need that extra strike to be good. So the fact that we have the Draft makes them a lot more takeable, right? I can add multi-strike to any unit at really no down cost since I'm running Dark Calling. So at the Merchant of Magic, what can I have? Well, cost reductions are always okay. You're always guaranteed to be able to cost reduce something for 25 gold. That would be probably pretty good on this Subsuming Blade. And then you got the major upgrades. You got Permafrost, which I don't really care for, and we really don't have anything that would be good to Permafrost. You got Double Stack, which can be good, but with our deck right now, it does nothing. And you have Holdover, which would probably be okay on the Subsuming Blades, but I'd probably might even be inclined just to put on the Razor Sharp Edge. Holdover is generally a very good upgrade, though. What else? We got... what do we got? Oh, and Consumer Move, and we have no consumables, so that would be nothing. So really, other than just, you know, I can add either plus 10 damage or plus 20 damage and consume, which I don't really think would be that good with this deck. So I don't really see anything that good other than Holdover here. Whereas if I go left, most of these Awoken Banner units can make use of almost every upgrade here. Even the typically horrible Large Stone can be an okay upgrade on like an Animus of Will. Also worth noting is... we do have these Molten Encasements, which benefit from Endless quite a lot. Even though we are Dark Calling, we don't really want to have to curate our Reform pool that carefully to the point that, you know, I'm only having a Molten Encasement in the pool and one other unit. It would be a lot easier if I could just put Endless on the Molten Encasement, and then I get the Stealth every turn guaranteed without having to worry that much about my Reform pool. And at that point, we have defense completely figured out. Even with Chased, we could self-infuse, since we have two of these. You know, I can, if I have one of these on Endless, I can use a Temple to infuse this in for 25 pack shards. And I would be doing 4 stealth every time it dies. There's no way we would ever need more defense than that. So I really think the left path here is good. And in general, I would argue I'm almost going to the steel probably 90% of most runs, regardless of the situation at the start. It's just generally the best call. Now quick, that's really going to be good on a sweeper. Sweeper can kill all the units and then every other unit can finish up. So we hope for a sweeper here. But you generally always want to check your steel first though, because once I click this banner, I can't go back and look at things. I have to make a choice. I either have to skip the unit for gold or take a unit. So we need to memorize what's in here, right? And really the main thing I memorize is a speedstone, but it's also nice to know that there's a heartstone here, right? If I have something that might benefit from 25 health, which is probably the best 25 gold upgrade in general, then that's to note. But the main thing I make note of here is the major upgrade, which is Speedstone. Then for what it's worth, I should look here too. It doesn't usually inform my decision for a unit, but it might, right? So I should just keep in mind that there's a 10, a Pierce, and a Spell Chain. Spell Chain can be okay on Razor Sharp Edge. You know, now you're getting 20 attack for one card. The idea there, though, is you definitely want to reduce the cost, so you have to determine how likely is it for you to do that. See, this Merchant of Magic is unfortunately not attached to a Remnant banner. Or any banner at all. It's just Pyre Remains, which is not nearly as good as getting another unit or another essence. So this magic is maybe not that desirable unless we hit on a pretty good unit here. If I hit on a really good unit here, I probably don't need to take any more banner units because I'll just put the Giraffe into it most likely. We'll have to see though. It's still a little bit of a liability to put the Giraffe into an Awoken unit because they don't really play as nicely with Reform or Burnout. We're going to really need to hit on some Burnout extension here if we want to do that. So it's something we'll have to keep in mind. But yeah, on the note of Razor Sharp Edge, it's awkward to leave it at 1 Ember and Spell Chain it because then the second card that comes out is 2 Ember, and that's pretty hard to play. But if I can get it down to a 0 cost for 25 gold at any of these magics, then it's a lot easier. Then the first one is 0, second one is 1. For 1 Ember, I'm getting 20 damage. So, the one thing I will say though is as I look at the map, this magic is not enticing, and then we have a 2-ring gap without any magics. We have 1 temple. That's one. We could also do a -2 on it, right? -2 Ember upgrade. There's only a 1 out of 3 chance, though, because there's only 3 different upgrades of each type at a Divine Temple. At the Merchant of Magic here, this one looks decent, though. This one is paired with the Caverns, which are generally strong. It's also opposite of Merchant of Trinkets, so if we don't go into this ring with that much gold, we're definitely enticed to go left here. So, you know, if I can live with the fact that I go basically 3 rings with a poorly costed Razor Sharp Edge, we could maybe justify it. We'll see though. And then the final Merchant of Magic looks great. I'm generally always going, you're guaranteed a Helvent at the last ring every time. I'm generally always going to target that side because by that point in the game, you probably have your cards quite upgraded, and to be able to just duplicate one is very powerful. So let's check the unit, knowing what we know. Okay. So both of these are great. I think given that I know that the Quick is in the temple, I'm leaning toward Husk Hermit. The nice thing about Awoken Hollow though, when you're running a Restore, it's less good with the alternative, which would be Root Seeds, right? But with Restore, you can turn this thing into a scaling machine. But since I already have a Razor Sharp Edge and I can already Spell Chain it, I really don't think I need that, and we'll definitely take the Husk here. And we'll definitely give it the Quick. And the nice thing about the Husk versus the Shattered Shell is it has 30 health, so I don't have to take the 25 health here. I can take the Quick, and I can even reroll for Multi-Strike, and we'll be able to afford it. Comes up. Okay, we didn't find it, but it's endless. I'll buy that. We talked about that. So we're going to put that into that. And honestly, now we can start to think about spending some shards. The one thing I will say is, when in doubt, probably don't spend stuff on shards as you're learning the game in the early rings, because when you go to high shards, you know, if I go to 50 shards early here, almost all of the enemies are gonna be enhanced, and it's gonna be very hard to deal with them. Also, some of these bosses like Talos become very hard with pack shards. So try to target like adding your shards at later temples. Because there's a lot of temples on this map, I don't think we need to make this infusion right now, but I still think I probably will, because the main problem I have right now is this ring does not have a temple and this ring does not have a temple. So by this ring, I'm probably going to make a determination on what I'm doing with this Husk Hermit. The Husk Hermit doesn't necessarily need an essence, but I know for sure that this is going to go into this, so I'm just going to do that now. There is definitely a cost to this, though. The unit fusions are pretty expensive. I mean, I guess I don't have to right now, to be honest. We can do that later, because I do want to spell chain this this Razor Sharp Edge, because I'm not convinced. The thing is, if I miss on Burnout Extension at this next card reward, I really would be hesitant, I guess, to put the Giraffe into the Husk. I think I would rather just have this. Because if I do this, I'm going to 50 shards. I'd rather stay at 25 right now, so we'll do that. And we'll fight. Mark of Invasion. That should be pretty easy. It's just going to be 3 clergymen on the top floor and 4 on the middle floor. We already have a sweeper, so we know we can deal with it to some extent. And this group shouldn't be too bad. It is I will say this is generally one of the more annoying groups to deal with. So we have options here. I could put the Husk down at the bottom here, that way I never have to deal with Scourges getting shuffled into my deck and killing my draw. Or I could put it up here. I know it's not going to take any damage, and it can kill all of these things. If I put the Train Steward in, it probably needs to go here. That way it dies and I can reform it. Then the only other question is, do I put the Rector down here or at the mid? Because if I put it down here, it's going to take 3 damage, but at least it does 15 there. And it'll get the reform of the Steward in either case. I think I do want the Rector Flimmerker on the bottom though, because I want more reforms. So that's how we're going to do this. So this guy will kill all of them. He'll take no damage because he's quick. This tank will put the stings into. Right, we got a lot here. So now, yeah, we got a few options. This guy unfortunately got all of the shard enhancements here. We talked about like cost. It could have gone either way. You know, these guys could have got it. These guys could have got it. Unfortunately, this guy got it. And that's by far the toughest one to deal with it, because it's sweeping at 4 and 75 health is a lot. So we definitely want to put some damage into this. So we're going to put you here. That'll do at least some AoE, killing the Scourge Shuffler, and then we can kill that tank to at least expose this tank. But we're probably looking at some pyre damage almost certainly with the Forged Disciple here. Now, we could start to plan around this, right? What I'm thinking is, I can guarantee that I pretty much will beat Relentless if I start stacking Stealth up here on the Husk Hermit. But I could also start stacking Stealth down at the bottom here to try to beat the boss, basically before I, oh, you know what? I didn't check that Merchant of Steel, but if there was a Burnout 1, we should have bought that for this. That's a mistake if it was there and I didn't get it. Because one thing about this Endless here, actually, now that I think about it, is if I put it here, it's not going to die. So that is a problem. I think we're going to put it down here then. So we'll do that. It's not going to save me any damage, unfortunately, but it will at least start stacking some stealth there. And we'll put this here to kill that collector. And then I guess we do want this to die. Unfortunately, this thing just can't die no matter where I put it right now. So I guess we'll just live with those two being in the reform pool, and we'll heal the Rector. We have the Subsuming Blade for 8. It's probably not going to be enough. I can make him do 25. Or I could just put this here and kill it to get additional stealth. I could have 4 stealth into that final fight, which would be 4 by 15. 60 damage is not quite enough. We're looking at 200 health or more. I really think we should try to win at the bottom if we can do it at all possible, because I really don't want to take all of this damage to my pyre. If we don't think we can win on the bottom, though, I should just Razor Sharp Edge this thing twice. That way I can at least do 25 damage to this thing and save myself some pyre health. I think it's possible that I could win down here, though. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this here. This here. And these can go here. And I will kill this. We actually did pretty good damage there with that steward. So we're only doing 69 right now. Let's try to do more. Okay, we're not killing here, unfortunately, but it is what it is. We're gonna take 2 hits up here. Probably looking at the boss leaking as well. Not much we can do about that. We're gonna put that there. We want to try to draw back to the Razor Sharp Edge for this husk. We can do this at least. We'll get a heal here. I don't think we want to put those stewards down. We're doing decent damage. Looks like we can get them here. That should solidify it. So we do leak the tank. It's unfortunate, but it happens. You're not always going to be able to mitigate all damage. Okay, luckily we do get some burnout extension here. Which I absolutely will take. It makes it so much easier for me to put that draft into the husk if I want to do that. Now we could go either route here. The Wicklash is nice because it gives that additional 10 attack, but the burnout, it does cost 1, whereas this one costs 0, and the burnout is less. So this one's more reliant on trying to find, say, holdover. What I will say though is, because of that, we really don't need to go left here maybe. At this point, you got to think, there's 4 major upgrades at any steel or magic. So if at the steel I no longer need endless, I no longer need quick, I no longer want, or I never wanted large stone. The only thing I want here is a multi-strike at this Merchant of Steel, and I guess you could argue a burnout 1 would be decent as well. So the Merchant of Steel isn't super high value. There's only a 50% chance, factoring in that I reroll, that I could find multi-strike. Whereas if I go to the Merchant of Magic, holdover is very good, right? 50% chance to find that, but also a double stack is pretty good here on either of these. I would probably just go with the Wicklash and go to this Merchant of Magic now. And at the very least, I'm guaranteed to get this Razor Sharp Edge down to a 0 cost, which is actually a gigantic upgrade. So, yeah, I mean, we could still take the Purifying Cleanse, but we're awoken, so we have a lot of ways to heal. The heal is not as important to me. And because I have a 75% chance to get either double stack or holdover here, I'm likely that this Wicklash is fine. And we can also just Hellvent it several times. This is actually a rare map where there's 4 Hellvents on it. Usually you're only going to look at 3 Hellvents total. You're guaranteed 3. Every now and then it gives you 4 for some reason. But we've also determined, even if I miss, you know, if I 25% low roll and I only get Consume Remove and Permafrost here, I at least still get the cost reduction. And I really don't need any Remnant Banners. And also there's these 2 desirable magics where I could try again to try to find holdover or double stack on this. So we'll take the Wicklash, and now we have a reason to go to that Merchant of Magic. Now I don't know that we really need any of these. Glimmer could be good into this fight, but it's a bit redundant with the fact that my main unit here is a sweeper and is quick. So I think this could be a candidate for a skip. We really, you know, healing is okay, regen is okay, but it's redundant with the stealth that we already have, and nothing really beats stealth as far as defense is concerned. Like, who needs health when I already have a common card that restores some of it? But more importantly, stealth is it just trumps healing altogether. So we don't need to add a card here. We'll take our 10 gold. Okay, now, and similar to the banners, the caverns, we want to click last because those lock you into a choice, whereas I can always visit a shop and not do anything and come back. And we hit on a holdover. That's great. So I think we could honestly go either route here, but I think I definitely do it on the Wicklash. And I don't need to get fancy. Like, I could hold out for like an intrinsic or something, but since we have Dark Calling, we're just gonna put holdover on it and zero cost it. And I have gold in the middle. Technically I have enough to I can re-roll here, and then I have 25 gold, so, you know, that's fine. And if I want to search anything, I could, but I don't really want to here. So we'll go ahead and make that a 0. The other option is I could check out the cavern first, but I'm just thinking along the lines of, like, if I were to find the cavern event that duplicates cards, I would probably want to duplicate this Razor Sharp Edge instead of the Wicklash, because the Wicklash is already in holdover. I'm just using that really for the burnout extension, but I would quite enjoy being able to get like a bunch of attack out of this Razor Sharp Edge. I'm going to take this going in, just in case I have to spend gold at this event. Ooh. This is normally a very good event, but I don't know that it's that good here. The problem is, generally I'm taking minor refraction almost every time here. It's pretty useful to just take a unit and bring it down to 1 pip, but unfortunately, it doesn't really make sense here because I don't really have any passive scaling, and if I do that, it uses up a unit slot, which means I can't try for multi-strike. You know, there are potential steals for me to hit here. Granted, I guess they're all opposite Hellvents, so maybe I don't, but this Hellvent isn't necessarily a great one because it's accompanying pretty bad events otherwise, whereas this steal has a Vortex and a Caverns. I would probably go to this steal instead of this Hellvent, so I can at least try for my 50-50 at multi there, and we still do really want to hit burnout if we can on this Molten Encasement. So I don't know, I may not really use this here. What we could do is we could just make a big stew, as Rising Dust likes to call it, the big steward, just to put it down and have it do stuff. Because I don't think we really benefit much otherwise here, so yeah, or we could make a big drag. Maybe that's even better since it's a 0 cost. We can do that, I think. So normally a very good event, not that good for us here, but that's fine. And there's these if we want them. I don't think we do. I don't really want to Surge Stone any of the cards I have currently. You could do it on restores, I guess. Maybe that's okay. I want to hold my gold for, since I don't have a whole lot of gold right now, and we might want some gold for that steal. Okay, so we got to determine what we're doing here. Now I will say in the first 2 rings I'm generally going Rector on the bottom, but in this fight I can generally go Rector mid or top because the fight is longer, and it just works out a little bit better that way. So let's think. We definitely want a unit to die up here, and so that we have something to reform. We could build around Big Dreg for this fight, because Husk isn't necessarily super powerful in this fight. It will if I can find the Wicklash early. Alright, so let's have you die. Keep in mind there is haste as well, so the middle floor on a few of these waves may not actually be able to do much, but because we have the exploding candle, likely we can kill the haste enchanter. This thing being 3 pip is a little awkward. I could set the Husk Hermit and this Rector up here. I think I may still actually go bottom with Rector in this fight. It just seems like it's kind of working out that way. Yeah, I guess we'll do that. We'll put him here because we want him to reform, but I do think that, let's see, let's put you there. Fortunately, we have another one of these getting sharded up. Now we're going to try to keep our reform pool relatively targeted here. So we have a choice now. I can start to use Wicklash on this drag, which already has 49 attack and 38 health, or I could start to put it on the Husk. Any of these decisions is fine. Let's put you here. You'll kill that. So I can start to do this, or I can start to do that. I think I'd rather have this come back with reform, and we'll start getting this thing some real big attack here. Since it is gaining from the stealth, I think that makes sense for us to do. Unfortunately, it doesn't die here. Kill that. So we have nothing in the reform pool. If we did, we'd see an icon here. I guess we could, this thing dies in 1 turn, this thing dies in 1 turn. I think we should probably just do this and not play another unit. We do want to stack this thing. And we do want just these units back. So I'll just do this and heal that. Alright, we can go here, extend that. We're almost killing it here. And then I have this thing ready to finish things up, so that's fine. That should be all we need to do. If we needed it, we have this. I guess we'll just put it there. And we get through it. Okay. Formless Child is always a fun one. I don't recommend it that often. It's pretty hard to use, but with Dark Calling you can definitely make it work. 40 attack is quite a nice steroid. Also, the essence is not horrible if you plan on something coming back a lot. I think our plan... Now, this is the odd thing with Dark Calling, right? I think this is why people maybe get not the value that they could get out of Rector. Dark Calling, we really play into the actual champion power in the first 3 rings, but I'm telling you, most of the time, we don't really go that hard on its actual Dark Calling effect for the rest of the game. Like, as you can see here, it's just kind of better for me to put a unit down and have them stick. You know, I'd rather have them gaining the stealth and not having to lose it. I'd rather have them just sit there and gain some stats from like the Wicklash and the Razor Sharp Edge. So it's like something like Formless Child kind of is at odds with what our game plan is going to be moving forward. So we could probably skip here. If we had like a good rage generation, adaptive could be good. Otherwise, I generally don't take adaptive that much. Yeah, I mean, we could take the Formless Child. It's just the problem with it is it costs 2. That's expensive, and it doesn't extend the burnout on the unit that comes back, and usually the unit's gonna have burnout if you're running Dark Calling. So it just becomes this awkward. But we have the Holdover Wicklash, so it's probably workable. I mean, I could take it. Let me think here. Another thing to think is, you know, we have a 26 card deck. We want to thin it out. I'm generally going to be taking draw upgrades. I could take a Pip if we needed it, but I don't think we do. I think the eventual plan here is just Husk Hermit, Rector, and a Tomb on the floor. This just gets in the way of that, so I'm going to skip it. Okay. This is pretty good because... yeah, this changes things a little bit. I do wonder though, so either one of these could be fine, right? The Animus of Will or the Paraffin Enforcer. I do think since I'm Dark Calling though, the draft would make more sense. And I have a Holdover Wicklash. It would just make more sense probably to not take the Animus of Will for the Essence. We're just looking at essences here, and the one I do wonder though is Paraffin Enforcer, which is actually pretty good with the Husk, and now if I would have took the Microstone on it, that would be a pretty easy take, because then I actually have reason to have multiple of them on a floor if I have the Paraffin Enforcer Essence. I do kind of wonder though, since it is chased, I don't really know that the Paraffin Enforcer Essence here is actually better than the draft. So I think I am going to skip it here, but they were definitely takeable if we didn't have the draft. Taking draw because we really do want to find that stealth unit ASAP. Let's see. 1 sec, I'll be right back. Alright. What way to go? So, Vortex is always a very good event, just like Hellvent. Those are generally the 2 best map events. Speaking in the most general of senses, so we know value-wise that the money and the health are just generally the lowest value events. You know, the health, it's fine. Gold without something to spend it on is pretty bad. Whereas if I go to the right, the banner in a lot of cases could be good. I think here it's not though, because I don't think there's anything I could find at that Awoken banner that's gonna beat just going Draff into Husk Hermit. Especially if we have to take another point of Dark Calling and it doesn't offer us Harvest to flex into. You know, I'll get even a little bit more attack out of it by just putting it down turn 1. Also, it allows me to pretty easily set up top from here on out because I can get that reform going right from the first turn up top, since I'll have burnout 1 on the Husk Hermit from that draft infusion. So I guess, you know, this is basically nothing. We just have to determine, really what we're looking at is a random choice at 2 artifacts and 2 removals beating a Hellvent. That's really what we're determining here. Because I could Hellvent this Razor Sharp Edge that would cost me 10 additional shards. Or I could Hellvent this Wicklash, costing me no shards, but quickening the rate at which I can find that. So we've already determined we probably give this Hellvent up. We don't give those up, most likely. So are we fine with just 2 Hellvents? Or am I maybe better off Hellventing right now, like the Wicklash or something? I don't know. I don't know that I need the Hellvent right now. Removals would be nice. You know, we are looking to get that Molten Encasement sooner than later. We are going to have potentially bad draw going into Fel. Granted, though, I could just go bottom floor against Fel. That could be something we do. I think let's go with the removals. There's generally more value on this side. Okay, intrinsic. If I can get a lightstone casing, we could put that on our Wicklash. We don't, but these are okay. Vapor funnel, we'll just take that. Might save us some pyre health. We still are very prone to leaking tanks. We'll never leak any of the squishies, so that's fine. This doesn't help that much with tanks, but it'll help a little bit. 30 power, probably not good for us. The intrinsic doesn't seem to be very good for us either, but we will do this. We're going to put the draft into the husk. We'll check the Awoken Banner just to be thorough. Yeah, we don't take those. Draft into husk. Let's go. And we remove the stewards right now. We still want to get some value out of... Like, I think I want to keep the health. There is going to be some times where I hit spikes and I need to replenish my health. Especially because Razor Sharp Edge will be taking a little bit of my health off the husk. Now let's see if we can get a Harvest Flex. We can. That's great. It's a little less needed when we have... you know, endless stealth, but if we don't get burnout on the stealth, it could still be good that we're getting this. Plus, this just helps more with killing tanks, because I'm going to be harvesting attack. Anything else to do? I don't think so. We're right at 60 shards, which does mean if we run into some bosses, that pushes them over a threshold, but not this one. This boss is just going to give us some Ember Drain. This will be a good precursor to Scourgefell. I guess we're running into all the Scourge fights. Armor 15 is a little iffy. That does mean I can't kill them by default. And I'm going to have to run into Razor Sharp Edge or Wicklash early on. It is a lot of gold to give up, though. The gold trial here is 150 gold's I did say gold is overrated, but 150 gold's still pretty good. I have 205 gold right now. We sure would like to have the ability to have a bunch of money here. We don't really need this money, though, to be honest. 205 is already enough for me to get what I need out of that steel. I think I'm still going to take it, though. I think it's the armor trial. Depending on what... I can always still go top floor if need be, and it looks like I will need to, because we do not have enough to kill down here right now, even with like some burnout. Yeah, I can do 10 with this. I can do 5 with that, but it'll still be left over with 5. So we'll put you down first, that way it will die and I'll get a harvest, but also more importantly the Ember Drain doesn't matter because it's dying. We can put this up here. Just to prepare, we do want to start stacking stealth if possible. And we can put this drag into the pool, that's fine. Since we're top, we'll only get the husk back right now, but that's fine. Alright, no collector, fortunately, but that's fine. We're going to put him in the back now. And I think I will greed for this money. We could... It's losing 5. It's now at 15. I think we put both of these here. All right, we have this. Put these in. And that thing that's dying eventually. Probably just put this damage in here. We're at a pretty good threshold now. I'm doing over 100 damage. As long as these guys don't get sharded up, I'm one-shotting them. And it looks like they won't because this is the last wave here. We can put some damage in here. We don't really care about Reform Pool at this point because we have these. We do need to maybe be... We need to make sure we get all the harvests up here though, because this thing doesn't seem to be dying. So we may end up needing the actual harvests as much as possible. Yeah, we don't want those to die. Luckily this thing got sharded up. It'll do 5 on Extinguish and get us at least some stealth here. I don't think we want to put these down. This boss does shuffle Scourges into our deck when it kills stuff. So we don't really want it to get that on us. We're gonna put... You know what I could do though? I could have this die. It'll shuffle a Scourge, but at least it comes back with 1 burnout. I can keep the pool with only that in it and actually get the required stealth that I need. So that's fine. I don't know if I want to take any chances. Let's see, 85 by 2, that's 170 right now. So I'm doing 170, I've got 80 health here. I think we're fine. Basically my determination here was like, do I use this Ember here to sacrifice damage, but I don't think we need to. We are good to go. Yeah, not even close. Okay. This recruitment could be good if I didn't have holdover on the Wicklash. Could just do the Remnant Pact. That is... I don't really know what it does for us, though, to be honest. I probably just will skip here. Memento Mori is pretty bad. It's one of the worser cards in the game, which sucks because it has easily the best animation of any card in the game. But it costs way too much at 3. It really should be a 1-cost card. And I'm not willing to pour resources into it to make it 1 cost. I think we just skip these. I could say that Preserve Thorns and Focus Growth are almost worth taking. I might take the Preserve Thorns. What it does is it does technically help us dig through the deck. Keep in mind we are wanting to dig for Wicklash and this tomb, and every now and then the Razor's Sharp Edge. So I think the Preserve Thorns is fine here. And this is the one, we're going to continue to skip Hellvents here, but once we get to the later Hellvents, we'll be taking those. Alright, boom. We got literally everything we wanted. That's pretty nice. Put the multi there, put the burnout here. We are super happy. There's nothing else to do. Let's take a look here. Okay, I actually think I'll take the coals. This is always a really good one, Emblem of the Exiles, but we just don't need that health considering our stealth situation, and Concussive Coals is not that good of an artifact, but we know that we have to deal with this stupid Scourge Fell eventually, and if 50% of the time the bottom floor just doesn't shuffle a Scourge into my deck, that would be fine. It makes it easier for me to set up on a top floor, which is ideally what you want to do. You don't want to have to set up on the bottom or mid floor ever, because you just want those extra turns to be able to scale up and prepare waves if need be. So that's that. Let's get rid of these stewards. Check the cavern out. It's also nice to lock in your upgrades before visiting a cavern, because as we've seen, a lot of those cavern upgrades can take up a unit slot. So then I wouldn't be able to buy the multi-strike, but now if it's something that takes up a unit slot, I can put that in on top of the Husk Hermits thing. Unfortunately, it's not. Now, I will say this event can often be actually pretty good to take Penitent Remains on if you think you're going to reform units a lot. I just don't think I am, but that can add, you know, at Covenant 25, we're looking at 10 attack per reform, including the first time it gets played. Granted, it really does shuffle some junk into your deck, but it can be worth it with Remnant quite often. But given that we don't need any of this, we leave it. It's generally an event that isn't that good. You win some, you lose some with Caverns. They're very swingy in what they can provide for you. I think we could be fine to maybe remove... Well, I don't know. We'll keep our money for now. Heaven's Seal can be a brutal one. At 75 shards, very likely that some of these overcharged tanks come in with a lot of health. And they could even be getting extra damage, which could do a lot of damage to our pyre. It's only a random artifact, which is generally the worst trial. As good as artifacts can be, only having a single artifact show up as a choice is pretty bad, typically. So if you think you have to reach at all for a random artifact trial, I would say default to not doing it, and I think that's what we'll do here. We most likely can take it, but if I get like the first wave and the tank is big, and I just low roll all of my scaling, that's going to be a lot of damage to my pyre, and it's just not going to be worth a random artifact. And then exactly as we saw, the big guy here, first wave, is sharded up at 160 health. And he'll be getting, 4 extra attack. No way do we want to have to deal with that. No way do we want to deal with that. We could put this in front, then it dies, and then I do that damage to follow up. That's fine. I do give up some harvests by doing that, but our stealth is going to be so much better with that burnout now. Alright, we do get the scaling though. Still don't think I'm killing this though, so still think we were fine to do what we did. Let's see, do I put this in? I don't think so. I think we want to get the harvests on the Rector anyway here. Okay. Unfortunately, we do bottom deck both of those, but that's fine. I guess it just means that I can't put a unit down this turn. So that's dying. These will die. I don't think we play any more units. Now keep in mind, if there was Heaven's Seal, that guy would have been not softened up because he would have healed each floor up. I would not have... I guess I would have killed it though, huh? I'm striking 3 times. So I could have took the trial, but it just wasn't worth the risk. Had I bottom decked my Razor Sharp Edge and my Wicklash, I would not have killed him. So that is the deal there. I guess we'll just do that. No need not to. And also, for what it's worth, I mean, it doesn't make any sense here, but if you ever want to, a lot of cards can just be played in your pyre if you don't care to play them on another floor. Sometimes that can be relevant if the enemy has like Incant or something like that. Now we can actually get more out of this if we put this in the back. That's another trick that I always forget. Now this comes down, this is kind of an advanced technique. This comes down to the way everything resolves. It resolves right to left. So if I have the tomb die after these resolve, that means I don't actually lose the stealth that it adds. Now it doesn't matter here because I already messed it up last turn, but what I should have done last turn is put this in the back. Had I done that, I would have 2 stealth right now instead of 1, but we'll remedy our mistake and keep putting it in the back from now on. So it was the multi-strike boss. We really don't need to be putting anything down. Although I suppose we could, there's no point not doing it, right? And that is all she wrote. Hard to die when you're stealthed up, even when you bottom deck it. And just wait till I self-infuse it, that I'm getting double stealth. Now I will say, it can be okay. All of these can be decent. The uncommon rarity tier for... Oh, and I forgot to mention, at every major boss, you actually are guaranteed rare card drafts for what that's worth. But most of the time when you're past the first 2 rings and you're in between the major bosses, you're mostly getting uncommon drafts for what that's worth. So at the uncommon tier, there's usually a lot of good stuff for the Melting Remnant, and this is kind of a good example of it. Crushing Demise is a little bit anti our deck, but it wouldn't be the worst thing to take. There's still always going to be in the Divinity Wave some mini bosses that have 500 to 600 to 700 health, and just being able to randomly kill them is nice. Obviously we can't play it on our floor though, which can be an issue, but we may just take it. The other option is to take more stealth. That's pretty redundant with what we have, but given that we're facing Chased, maybe sometimes it makes sense. I don't think it does though. I think we could take a Crushing Demise. I think you're never too sad to have it. It'd also be good into these Scourge Shufflers. I'm fine taking 1 more Preserve Thorns. I think it's really going to help us continue to dig for our tomb. Now, I think we originally planned on going to the Merchant of Magic here. I'm not really feeling that so much anymore because, I don't know, I've already upgraded the cards that I want to upgrade. So I'm really only looking at cost reductions. I wouldn't really want another holdover. I don't want Consumer Move. I don't want Double Stack. I don't want Permafrost. I think we actually, and we have a lot of money, I think we just go to the right here, get a free artifact, and have a choice. The Remnant has quite a few good artifacts. And there's 1 good Awoken artifact. The Root Split Mask would be pretty nice to have. Alright, those we don't want, but we will, before I forget, do this. So now I'm getting 4 stealth per death. Probably could have took a look at the trinkets beforehand. Could take a Firestone Housing if we think we hit another steal. I don't think we do though. These are good hell vents on the map to hit. Sap Tap could make our restores draw a card. I don't think we play those enough for that to matter. Boon could be nice if we... It's a really good combo with a Vapor Funnel. But I think we can do better. Oh, yeah. Now this would be a good example of maybe... 420 nice, by the way. But so the Waxer Snuffer, extinguish abilities, trigger an additional time. I could argue I probably didn't need to self-infuse this, given that we found that. That's the one card that makes doing this so fat. Like before I look at the trinkets, kind of be a punish. My counter argument there, though, is we are facing Chased, so I'll take it. I'll still take it. Yeah, we're not gonna die. Death is not on the table for us anymore. Not that it ever was. And Hell's Banner is very good. Rationing Scale is very bad. I generally say just don't take it. Being locked into 50 health is not almost ever worth getting gold. As I said, gold is overrated. You have one bad turn late and that'll kill you in the divinity fight. But Hell's Banner is just always good. This is probably the best general artifact in the game, kind of sneakily, because it's just always takeable and it always does work, and there is an actual ceiling that's pretty high. We won't really need that energy, but it'll be nice to have. We could make a removal if we want. I mean, I'm skipping the next vortexes most likely, so you know, we can start to think about removing stuff. I don't really need to remove much though. Especially into this fight, like we're fine having dregs kill Scourge Shufflers with our exploding candles, so we don't need to do anything prematurely here. Let's just fight. And we're already 100 shards. 100 shards enables us to fight Divinity, so we don't have to take any more shards. We're only going to take shards if we think it's beneficial. Alright, I could go bottom this fight, maybe. I will have to take damage here because I do want to... Oh, actually, no. I have Hell's Banner, so I don't have to take damage. Perfect. See? It's already putting in work. I think given... Yeah, we're just going to go bottom here, of course. Now we're going to do it in the right order this time. You there. And you, I guess, here. And we will put some damage in here. Alright. And we have already won this fight. This is how it goes sometimes. If you plan ahead in a proper fashion, you generally just are not going to be... Generally, it can go like this. You know, it can be a thing where all the later fights in the game are easier than the earlier fights. I call it Skyrim difficulty, because that's often how a Skyrim playthrough goes, right? You basically start out and things are tough, and then it just gets easy. Might as well get some of that, right? Here we can get around our Ember Drain problem. Perfect. And this is Monster Train 101. You know, that's the nice thing about this game. I think people like me that like it more than Slay the Spire, I think it's because the ability to basically break the game happens so much more, and to me that's pretty fun, but I understand sometimes people probably just want that more consistent challenge that is provided by Slay the Spire, and that's fine, to each their own. But me, I like to just relax and pwn stuff. What's our stealth count at now? 43? I don't know. Seems close. What am I? What would I ever... Would I ever die to at this point? It'd be nice if there's like a button to be like enable super boss or something in situations like this to like really test your broken deck and see if it could take on some like 10,000 health boss or something. Intent on Death I typically don't take unless I'm running Little Fade. I think it's kind of the definition of a win more card. Sacrificial Res I'm typically not taking, but every now and then it can be okay, and the Quick Tome is generally good if you don't have Quick, but obviously we have Quick, so... unfortunately, it's another skip at the rare tier. It happens. I don't think either of these clans particularly have a good rare pool, so it's not that uncommon for me to skip these. And as I explained, because we fought a major boss, all of these card rewards were rare. I think we just continue with draw. Generally, if you're ever in doubt, draw is always going to be the best upgrade most of the time. You need a really specific reason to take Ember or Pip. Sometimes I do it. You know, Dark Calling, especially Pip, can make sense a lot of the time, but if you're ever in doubt, a nice catchphrase I say is, when in doubt, just go draw. If there's any doubt about what to take, draw is almost always going to be the correct answer. It's just so nice to have an extra card every turn. Really wants to push this 10 and Pierce on me, which is normally a very good upgrade, by the way. With a lot of clan combos, True Stone is, for 10 shards, super good. It's generally better than the 31 for 15. I would generally take 10 and Piercing for 15 if it was actually offered at that versus 30 at 10. That's how much I think Piercing is better, because as I said, come endgame, almost every freaking wave is a full wave of Spell Shield, so being able to pierce it is really good. But all that being said, I don't think we need any of these. Like I said, we're at 100 shards. We really have no need to be taking more, unless we think it's like a super good benefit to our deck, which it just doesn't look like it. Alright, so, right, we're looking at that, didn't want it. We'll go here first, because I already have a lot of health. If it's something where I have to pay Pyre health for, we can replenish the health afterward. Doesn't look like it, but we can just easily get rid of something, like maybe we want to get rid of a restore. Again, not a very good cavern event. Generally, most caverns are better than the ones we've seen, but it is what it is. So, as for the Hellvent, sky's the limit, really. It seems a little weird to Hellvent this, but I might do that. My reasoning is, you know, especially since I'm removing another heal, there are some situations, since I'm probably going to go top against Divinity, where I bottom deck this card, and that would mean my 30 health thing could die. I mean, it can get reformed anyway, though, so I don't know what I'm worried about, but I do think probably I'm going to just dupe it anyway. And then the other dupe probably just goes on Wicklash. Those are the two cards I'm digging for, so why not just dupe them, right? Probably should have done the Wicklash first, though, since it doesn't cause shards, and it helps more with wave clear, which is what we need to worry about on minor bosses more so. And we'll take the second point of Accumulator. No real point to take another point of Dark Calling at this point. Because, you know, we're really not using the actual Dark Calling thing other than like one turn, maybe, right? And that's pretty typical, I would say. Alright, Armor 20 is a very easy trial to take here. That's an easy 400 gold. This really shouldn't be too bad. Right, we put you down, foist. Do this. I do think we'll do this. You never know, it might kill the tank. Alright, killed the worst unit, sure. Alright, no Wicklash, so we'll just continue to do this. At least we have this, though. Fortunately, this guy's back there, but we can just do that. Now it's dead. Okay, Wicklash at the very bottom. Annoying, to say the least. But it just sort of is what it is. So I could at least kill... It doesn't really matter if I kill that. That's 30 health. I guess I can... I guess it still matters because I can get some... I guess I can get 10 extra damage here on it, which may or may not be relevant. Probably isn't relevant. So we leak here. We would have been better off Hellventing the Wicklash. Had I Hellvented the Wicklash, I don't think we leak there. So, lesson learned. But the leaking is behind us, thankfully. I could stack this. Do we think I need to put extra damage in here, though, with the blade? Do I need 32 extra damage? I'm already doing 150. Gonna be gaining 30 a turn. I think we can live with sort of just not doing that. I can also just get some extra damage in there. Perfect. Actually, at this point, I really should be putting the this in front because I'm getting enough stealth, but this guy technically is getting hurt. No biggie, though. We're giving him armor, whatever. We're doing 65 by 3, that should be fine. Really nothing to worry about at this point. We leaked the first wave, but now we're just never gonna die to this boss with the amount of stealth we have. Probably not even worth it for us to click much other than the stealth, right? I guess we could do this. Charge it up. And you are dead. Those are skips. And since I'm gonna be hellbending the Wicklash, I don't think we need another digging card. I could though. I could. I definitely wouldn't do the Preserved Thorns at this point since I don't want that many stings in my deck. So we could just take the Invigorating Solution. I mean, it just further makes it impossible for us to, like, bottom deck stuff. Yeah. We'll go over here. Got a lot of money and not a whole lot to do with it. -2 absolutely is just going to go here. That's a good upgrade. Not that we probably need it, but... I could take the Firewall. I have so much gold and it makes sense. I think the Faulty Loader also probably makes sense. Just since that first wave would be the one that we would leak, if anything. Not seeing a whole lot here that I care about otherwise. Yeah, let's do that. Then, guess we reroll. Probably can't afford anything at this point. That's fine. We didn't really want any of that. We'll just reroll here and otherwise do a bunch of removals. Yeah, we'll just do a bunch of removals. I don't need to remove consume on any of this. As far as what to remove, I guess the restores. And it is nice to heal every now and then. I can put +10 on one of them. How about that? How much gold do we have? 90. It would cost me the removal if I did that. But I do actually think I want that 10 there, and I'll just make it cheap. Sure. Like I said, there are spikes, there are low rolls of bottom decking both of these, so we may want to have that option. Now if Ice Chased, we know that we're going to have to deal with buffs being removed, debuffs being removed, and Ember Drain units. But we're not too worried about it. Alright, this wave will be dealt with, and we're going to be drawing a lot here. I could have maybe not played that second Preserved Thorn since I'm already drawing a full hand. Probably shouldn't have, but it's fine. Alright, we got you, and we'll put you in, and I think this fight has been solved. This is the Ember Drain guy I was talking about, Pyre Wings. I could play a Crushing Demise here. But I don't think it's needed. Really all we need to do at this point is... Here, we'll do this. We'll greed it out a bit here. Oh, also, this is extinguishing twice, I think. Or is it? No, it's not. Yeah, it only did 5. Is removing a lot of our stealth. But, you know, that just sort of happens. Don't accidentally put the burnout extension there. Nothing else to do. Now we could try to make a floor stick somewhere else if we wanted to stop Chased from coming back to us. You can control where Seraph goes. If you have other units survive on a floor, then he'll stop just automatically coming back to your floor, and he'll try to go to the other floor. So if I wasn't having such a ridiculous stealth situation, I could be doing that. So for example, it just doesn't make sense though when I have enemies that could Ember Drain me, I think. But, you know, for example, I could just like kill these, then this thing sticks. Now that this sticks, he's likely to come down here and try to remove their buffs, even if they don't have buffs. Then I'll just keep more stealth that way, you know. So as suspected, see, he actually did his buff removal here, which allowed me to keep my stealth. Otherwise, he would have removed these buffs. So that's something you can do if you ever need to do that. Yeah, maybe we even just have him stick here, huh? See, now he moves there, whereas if these guys weren't there, he would come up here and remove my stuff. Now that one wave is remaining, I won't lose any of this stealth. Yeah, we don't really need to play cards at this point. I guess I could be trying to get my Subsuming Blade, maybe. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Taking a little bit of damage here from spikes. That'll be more prevalent in the final fight, but the Subsuming Blade can remove most of the spikes in the final fight. Alright, now we go to Divinity, and we're very well prepared for it. Shouldn't be too much of an issue. Alright, we start with Wicklash here, so we won't get the Reform, which means we won't get the extra 5 health. But that's fine, I think. Is there any reason for me to not play this? I don't think so. Now we are going to get hit here, but that's why we kept a few heals. Unfortunately, we top decked it, but it is what it is. I'm going to leave this because I'm already drawing 10. You know what I could do, actually? It kind of makes sense just to do this. I got the 10 attack buff, but since we already have the Wicklash, might as well do that, right? And it comes back with 35 health and more damage. Why not? Alright, we keep doing that. We're at 65 by whatever there. Give you a heal. And this is, so when you're fighting Divinity, first wave is usually nothing, the second wave is annoying, but it's really that third wave and the wave following it that are the hardest waves in this fight. You know, you have this conduit redirector, which is giving spikes to the whole floor, but then you have, you're either going to deal with a Darkwing or a double overcharged tank. Either way, you're getting a crazy amount of armor to each floor, so you really don't want to like put units down there, and if you can silence them, all the much better. But either way, we just keep doing this. We could argue maybe not playing one of these Wicklashes, because we would like to find a subsuming blade, but it's not the end of the world if we don't. Worst comes to worst, this dies and I just reform it. I'm fine to do this as well. We might just get lucky and kill either this or this. We don't, but that's just what we signed up for, right? So we still have to draw through a lot of the deck, but we have a Preserve Thorns coming up. I think I just keep doing this. The reason you may not want to play an Endless or a Holdover card when you're trying to re-find a card is because obviously it hurts your draw to do that. But I'm not too worried about it here. I'm going to try to soften this thing up. That way, this guy's probably going to die if I don't kill this. But as we said, I'd probably just reform it. Maybe I don't play these then. You know? So like, if I play them, they're not going to kill this or anything. I don't think I play these, just in case I have to reform this thing. So I will die to the spikes here if I can't subsuming blade it or get a heal. It's like I'm technically not dying, but I feel like I might be better off if I just sort of die here. So I think I will. I think I just want him to come back with full health, and I don't really care that I'm losing 21 stealth. I'll regain my stealth so fast that it won't matter. And we definitely don't want to play a drag. We already got one in the pool, so we want that one to be the only other unit that's in the pool. Oh shit, did I just fuck up? I did just fuck up, didn't I? Okay, I put myself apparently too far down, and I'm not getting my third strike now. Which is wild, right? 145 by 2, as you can see, is not even killing these units. So I messed up pretty bad there, but we'll live. We've got full pyre health. We're just going to take a little bit here. Actually, we took half our health, even with the Vapor Funnel. So that goes to show just how fucked up that is. Uh-oh. Alright, what are we going to do here? Alright, all is not lost. What we're gonna do here is we have a few options. So this guy essentially has 730 health. We're only doing 524. I could add 60 there, and then I'm doing still not enough. I think what I'm gonna do, it kind of sucks, but if I have to lose, and I fucked up the positioning here. If I have to lose Rector Flicker, so be it. I can guarantee, though, that I kill this right now. And we'll go for a 1 out of 3 here. And I really fucked this up. Alright, we're going to go for a 1 out of 3 here. Alright, that's fine. We'll just bring him back. We do want to keep that on reform. So let's just kill... Damn it, are you really not dying? Yeah, whatever, it's fine. We're going to try to kill that thing eventually here. I will just do this then. Soften these up. Alright, despite our mistakes, we should be stabilizing now. I keep fucking up. I need to be putting the molten encasement in front. God damn. Right, can I do some damage to the shit here? And subsuming blade really not getting drawn when I need it, huh? Oh, whatever. Should have enough health from here on out. YOLO, nice. We're just gonna play these here. Put that there. Get some damage there, get a little bit of health back. Okay, put that there. Keep that healthy and damagey. Get the drag floor up. Alright, we are good to go here. Have some of that. Alright, so despite playing as if I had no brain, it didn't end up mattering. That's what you want to do. You want to construct your deck that it covers all the massive mistakes you may make. And you'll probably make them. Even after 2,000 something hours into this game, I still am a noob. But yeah, hopefully that was useful. Just to do a quick run summary, we start Dark Calling because it enables us to have a good early game while also not requiring us to find a card like Molded or Burnout Extension to still use some of the main Melting Round mechanics, which would be Reform. So it allows us to take that really powerful Draft Infusion. Molten Encasement, very good. We target the spells or the shops to give us the best spread of stuff that we want. Luckily in this combo, the Merchant of Steels are very good because we have a very good Endless, very good Quick, and Multi-Strike is pretty much always good no matter what you are. And then we target the magics to get what we want, in this case cost reductions and a holdover on the Wicklash. Other than that, we don't add any unnecessary cards. We make as many removals as reasonable to make it so that we find our stealth fast enough and we find our scaling and burnout extension fast enough. And we take the good artifacts that we see. Now, if you want to try that one out for yourself, go ahead and do that. You can always just take that name there, Hands Remains Appears. When you start a run, you go to Challenges, go to the Community Challenges, and you just type it in right here, click that button, and then you can try the same run that I just did for yourself. Well, hopefully that over-explained run was helpful. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, peace.